Hello, my name is Andrea. I work at Southern State Correctional Facility, one of the sites in Centurion, Vermont, for those of you who don't know me. And we're here today to talk about something that I feel is very important, which is new hire nursing competencies, and to go along with that, continuing education competencies as well. Um, so, what we're going to talk about is the need. Um, why we need to do it, which is we have increased nursing errors, we have increased costs, and and we have a decrease in professional development. Then I'll be going over the project description, budget, and then we'll conclude, and we'll have time for questions if we need them. So if we go to slide 3, you'll see that our first need is errors in nursing practice. Um, they are most common with nurses who are not properly trained. According to Lippincott, nurses who don't follow the 5 rights can contribute to medication errors. Deficits in knowledge are one of the top reasons. And because of that, because we are the frontline staff to prevent these errors, it's important that we make sure that our nurses are properly trained and they know what to look for and they know how to administer these medications properly. The next thing that we have on slide 4 is increased costs. This goes right into errors in nursing practice. You have increased costs because of patient harm. You have increased costs because of family or patient litigation because of either inappropriate or lack of care. Our population can be litigious, especially since they don't have the option of other people, which is to go out and go to the ER if they need to, or they feel like they're having an emergency. Their only recourse is the care that is provided to them in the facility. And again, a lack of standardized training, nurses doing things that they haven't been properly trained on, is one of the most common reasons for these things to happen. In fact, in 2018, there was a patient incarcerated in Connecticut that was awarded $1.3 million about in a settlement because of inadequate care for his cancer. Part of that was he reported to med staff that he was having symptoms and they did not follow through in an appropriate manner. And obviously that is a serious issue. Next up, we have the need for professional development. It's both the employee and the employer's responsibility to make sure that nurses continue their education. Some states require it. Vermont is not one of them. And employees who feel like their company is taking an interest in their professional development are more likely to be retained by those companies. Mika Fukada, who writes for the Journal of Medical Sciences, states that nursing competency is a core ability and it's required for fulfilling nursing responsibilities. And it's important to continue your education as well. New things happen in medicine all the time, and if you're not having continued education about what is the most current evidence-based practice, then you may be practicing either wrongly or outdatedly, and that can cause an increase in patient harm and increased costs because of that patient harm and because of litigation. So what I propose, and a short description on slide 6, is that we standardize this training, that we create checklists to make sure that these trainings are happening, and that we maintain yearly competencies by also using these trainings. You can see here that there are a multitude of what are called KSAs, which is knowledge, skills, and attitudes. that directly correlate to actual patient care. And you can, using these competencies, create checklists to have your new hires and your seasoned nurses as well put in time showing that they can do these things. And a lot of places are even do yearly skills days in order to make sure that all of their staff is up on the most recent literature on how to be a nurse. On the next slide, more specifically, I would like there to be new hire standards, and I would like the trainings to be standardized throughout the state, except for those specialty things like only a couple of sites have an infirmary, only a couple of sites have a mental health unit. Those sites obviously would have their specific trainings for those. The checklist I would like to be based on QSEN's areas of competency. There are multiple areas that include evidence-based practice, patient-centered care, and things of that nature that are, it's designed to make sure that the nurse learns holistically, so that there are no deficits in his or her knowledge base. Places that have instituted these practices have seen much better practice. They have seen their quality improvement scores increase, and they have seen fewer errors and fewer adverse outcomes because of them. One of the things that I think is very important as well is making sure that those nurses who are unable to demonstrate competencies, whether because they are a new grad nurse or they haven't been exposed to that particular area, or even in the case of a seasoned nurse, something that has changed that that nurse has not been trained on. I feel it's very important to have the ability to write individual education plans for those nurses to get them up to speed, so that we can make sure, again, that everyone is practicing to the top of their license and in the most beneficial way for the patient. On the next slide, you'll see that I have a list here of just a quick list of what needs we have and what the proposal is going to solve. The first need, again, errors in nursing practice. The solution for that would be the competency checklist to ensure that trainings are happening appropriately and in a standardized way. The need, increased costs. If we implement this program, we will have fewer errors, which means less patient harm and fewer lawsuits. And finally, the need for professional development. And the solution for that is continuing competency training or skills days will assist with that and will help the nurses feel like they are continuing their education and not stagnating in their careers. Next up, we have the budget. It's very simple. It's basically one person's salary per year to develop and administer the program, to maintain the program, and to be in charge of all the documentation. There's no added materials, no additional personnel or anything like that besides this one person who would be in charge of the program. So in conclusion, we have, if the project is approved, we will have fewer errors, which will help our patients, will satisfy our clientele, which is the state of Vermont. We will have a decrease in litigation, which will help both Centurion and the state of Vermont, and it will decrease patient harm, which is very important. We will also have increased professional development, which means an increase in morale and an increase in retention rate for staff. And next slide, you can see are the references. Do you guys have any questions for me? Thank you very much.